us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you.
I can hear you.
Okay. Luis, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Luis? Huh.
Are you talking?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I tested the mics.
I feel like I always forget to unplug my headphones.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then I hit every button on the keyboard trying to figure out why there's no sound.
Yeah. I feel so out of practice with Zoom that now when I do a Zoom, there's always some steps that I haven't done. But when we were doing it in the pandemic,
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing. Now I'm rusty.
Now we can't hear you. Can you hear us?
I'm testing speakers here.
Oh, now, okay, now we can hear you.
I do, yeah. So what is it? Tumble and fork?
Tumbler and
Tumble and fork. Is it
fork and tumbler.
is it open?
Yeah, I guess.
Where is that?
It's in the old.
That's where the base is.
Yeah.
That's why we got, okay.
Yeah, that's how we got to that conversation point.
The menu like burgers and,
I don't know. I think they only have their stuff on social media, and I don't do social media.
Yeah.
So
I think I
I
said,
apologize. If you can hear me, I can certainly talk and introduce myself.
We can hear you. I guess you can't hear us.
Did you ask for headphones? My eyesight's bad enough. I can't see the chat. Now we can hear you.
I'm going to try this from my personal phone. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, well, so he's going to work on that. I'm going to send him this. We don't have a quorum. Whoops.
One, two, three, four, five, six.
So we can't approve the minutes. And I don't see anybody on Zoom that would seem to want to do public comment.
Do we need 7 for a quorum?
Yeah, because you have 11
Right.
currently, so you need 7 to tip it over.
Do we have 11 currently? I think we have 10.
Well, you actually have 10, but
right.
my understanding is you still have to have 7.
Oh, right. There's the 11th seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Mary's.
Yeah. Luis, you hearing us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, but you need to mute one of your devices.
Yeah, just hang out the other device.
Okay, I think we got it. Do you want to
Neat, yeah.
explain the circumstances?
Sure, we'll go ahead and kick things off. My name is Daniel B. Smith. I'm the chair of the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission. This is our regular Wednesday, June 12th meeting. It is 7:36. We currently do not have a quorum, which means that we cannot do a couple of things on our agenda, like approving the minutes. But that's fine. We can kick those to next month. We don't have anything pressing. So I will do as I always do, which is kick things over to Porter, and he will read a statement about some stuff.
Actually,
do you not
since
have
we I don't really need to read it because we don't have any guests here tonight. So I will pass it back to you.
All right, should I do the roll call still?
Oh, we should do the roll call, yes.
So I'll do the roll call starting with Marlo.
Present.
And then Dina. And then Marciana.
Present.
And then Rebecca. And then Jill. And then Tim.
Present.
And then Alicia. And then Brooke.
Present.
And Beverly.
Present.
Beverly?
Oh, yeah, and then Beverly
she
is.
said it. She
Oh, okay. Great.
Present.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay.
We will skip over approving the minutes, as I already mentioned. We will skip over public comment. And there's also nobody here to give any public comment. And then we'll go right to new business. We are fortunate to have the new director of Parks and Recreation joining us via cell phone, Luis Ruiz. And we're just going to let him sort of take the floor and introduce himself. We will have to send this video recording to all of the absent members because I do think, getting to know Luis is going to be great for all our members. But thanks for being here, Luis. I'll let you just have as much time as you want.
Oops, we're not hearing you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on my computer so you can see the video and on my phone. So my apologies for the technical issues. But what I want to do is, first of all, is thank you for serving on the board. I know it's not always easy work, but hopefully it aligns with your personal and professional career goals, and we certainly appreciate that and the giving of your time. So a little bit about myself. I think I've kind of memorized it now, so it's my history that I've been sharing with a lot of the groups that I've been meeting with over the last month. I'm just completing the 13th is my 1 month. So it's really been about getting to know the staff, the processes within the city, the executive team within the city, budget, the comp plan, and now I'm starting to move outward to the community and try to meet a lot of you folks and a lot of the organizations that support what we do, and hopefully we support what they do. But about myself, I'm native of Miami, born and raised there, first generation Cuban American. Graduated from the University of Miami School of Music with a Bachelor of Music in Music Business and a minor in Business from the School of Business. My first job out of, and by that point I knew I was going to be in art and culture in one way, shape, or form. So my first job right out of college was managing a youth symphony, the Greater Miami Youth Symphony, where I kind of learned a little bit about everything. It was a small operation on the administrative side. So at that point, we're doing the bookings, the recruitment, the scheduling, all that, and actually taking them to Mexico. So just right out of college, I really learned a lot about budgeting and things of that nature. So that's really the career path that I took over the next few decades. After the Greater Miami Youth Symphony, I actually went back and I worked for the University of Miami School of Music as the manager of concert halls. And that position eventually evolved to Director of Operations, which was a new position they had created to really manage all the business, facilities, relations with users for the concert halls and the School of Music. And I got my MBA while I was working there. So I have a Master's of Business Administration in Marketing and Management. The whole time helping the School of Music, working with their ensembles, their faculty, students, community groups, growing some of the usage of our concert halls, and making sure that we were able to fulfill the needs of the community and tie the university to the community itself. From there, I went to work for the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs, which is a huge department. It is county-wide, so huge funding sources from taxes and allocations for grants programs, facility maintenance and facility management and building of facilities. So I managed a grants program called Community Grants, which was a quarterly grant that was awarded to smaller organizations, not the majors, ballet, opera, and symphony, or any of the big theater groups, rather smaller ones. They could be existing for years or not. But so the job for me was to really consult with each of these cultural groups, institutions, work on their grant applications, convene panels to evaluate those, and then award those all the way through council. And then the second project was they were building a performing arts venue in the south part of the county. So I was on the design team helping programming some of those spaces. At that time, moved to Arizona. So been in 2005. So I just left Arizona. So I was there roughly 19 years. My first job there was with the city of Phoenix. Working for the Phoenix Convention Center, but managing the performing arts centers. So we had two theaters, actually three theaters. One is an old historic 1929 theater called the Orpheum, restored to its grandeur from the 1920s. So working with community groups there as well as national promoters. We did comedy, we did concerts, we did performing arts. We worked alongside a theater, a Broadway group as well. So negotiating really, the use of the spaces, overseeing the operations, front of house, back of house, and that type of thing. And I also managed the Symphony Hall, 2,300 seat performing arts center that had three resident companies, the ballet, opera, and symphony, often conflicting in their needs for money, time, energy, dates, and everything. So negotiated with them, on a yearly basis, including, increasing rates that had been frozen for forever, and trying to negotiate that. So worked a lot with those, the managing directors, executive directors, and so working pretty much at that level. From there, I went to the Tempe Center for the Arts for the city of Tempe, just down the road. It was a two theater and a gallery space, actually three theaters and a gallery space. So managing and overseeing that. One of the big things, very similar to this, I walked in to that job and an art study had just been completed. So one of the big things that needed to be executed there was to renew the sunsetting of a tax to support the Performing Arts Center. And that was, I believe, going in maybe 3 years after there. And of course, you have to prepare just in case you fail the first time. So, but my job was to put together some scenarios to take to council. If we kept the tax, if we increased it, if we decreased it, or if we let it sunset, what it would do to the operations. So saw that through council. I did leave before that went to ballot, but it did pass eventually with my predecessor. So then I went to the city of Mesa, which is what my last place of employment was. So this is when culture turned into Parks and Recreation. I was hired to oversee commercial operations for the Parks and Recreation Department. So part of that was managing the amphitheater, 5,000 standing room only amphitheater. So pretty much a live music venue, working with promoters and mostly with promoters, co-promoting. Really, we did a little bit of producing, but we just didn't have the budget to keep that up in the city. So we did co-promotion with anybody that came through, Live Nation, AEG, some more local or regional promoters. So that was a big part of it. Also overseeing the convention center, and a few other venues that were downtown. opened the Office of Special Events, oversaw the cemetery, and I oversaw the golf course as well. So, but within the realm of the Parks and Recreation Department, so I gained a lot of experience in that realm as well. So this leads me to Lawrence. When I saw that posting back, I guess it was January or so, and the position for Director of Parks, Recreation, Art, and Culture comes up, and I see that on LinkedIn. I was very content in my job, but it really piqued my interest. So, I started pursuing it, found it very interesting, came out to Lawrence in February, had a very pleasant interview process. I mean, grueling, but pleasant. And and I just really fell in love with the city. So, came back, got the job eventually. The whole way through, I'm really in denial, thinking I'm not gonna do this, but I did it. And, I think every step of the way I was convinced a little bit more that this was the right choice personally and career-wise, and certainly the next step in my career, and really pulling together, this, and I'll say this publicly, I know this is being recorded, this will be the last job I ever have. I will be retiring from with Capers from Lawrence, Kansas. So, this is really a melding of a lifelong of education and experience. So, and again, coming in, I knew that they were undergoing the comp plan, which fortunately I've been able to step in now and get before it was finalized. I know the research, the data, a lot of the recommendations have been forming for months, if not longer than that, but at least being able to shape what the final report's going to come out and look like, and how we can really build a plan around that. I realize there's going to be a lot of competing priorities, and it'll be really about working with the community, both on the Parks, Recreation, Art, and Culture side to realistically plot, short, midterm, and long-term plans, to execute, to be creative as to how we collaborate to make sure that something, that is either, shouldn't be in our arsenal of assets, but it exists somewhere else, try to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts or competing in any way. So I think this will help us shape that. And I don't know, I'm fresh here, so, my hope is to get out and really understand what you all are doing in the community, how we support you, and, again, how this could be really a mutually beneficial relationship between the city and those organizations that provide, the art and culture that we're really trying to support. So, a lot of challenges lie ahead. The comp plan is a 10-year plan, so we know that we can, be kind of meticulous about how we execute it. I want to make sure that we have successes and don't set ourselves up, for disappointment or failure in any way. So working with the community, we've gotten the feedback, but a lot of those recommendations are going to be work with this partner, recommending that we work with partnerships and create partnerships. So I want to, just put that out there that, and again, not knowing how the partnerships exist now, but I hope to gain a better understanding of that and then be able to expand on that to make sure we can fulfill as much of that comp plan as we can. So that's really it in a nutshell. I'm perfectly open to questions if anybody wants to ask anything, or if I missed anything that you all want to hear from me, or.
I'm sure people will have opportunities to meet you and ask questions other times, but yeah, does anybody have any comments or questions? I'm hearing none, as I often say.
Yeah, but I do want to offer that please feel free to email me with questions if you want, lunch, tour of your facility, or really I'm open to coming out to the community. That is, as I mentioned earlier, I'm still going to be exploring a lot of the internal workings of the city, but this is a public-facing position more than anything else, so I want to get out there and, make sure that, I know who you are, you know who I am, and, and that we can work together. So feel free to reach out if you have something that you feel might interest me or that we should get behind. So I'm sure my email address, it's public, but we can share that. Actually, it's lruiz@lawrenceks.org. So please feel free. I invite you to email me and contact me. I'm here to support you and hope that and I know obviously you're sitting in the room there, so I know that we can count on your support as well.
Great. Well, thank you. It was really great hearing about all of your background. You have an extensive background in the arts. I know that when we found out about you coming on board, a lot of people in this body and outside of this room who are involved in arts and culture in the community were excited to hear that we had somebody come on board for the position who was so versed in the arts. So thank you for joining us. I'm sure you'll get lots of emails from us in the future, and maybe we'll see you at some cultural events. There's a lot of stuff going on this month, so maybe we'll see you out and about. But unless anybody else has any other comments, I think we'll let you go, and we can get on with the rest of our meeting.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and have a good evening.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks,
for joining
Ruiz.
us.
Bye.
All right, we can move along with our quorumless meeting to old business. We have some kind of updates on neat stuff that's been happening and things that are in the works. So do we, I think first we are going to, let's see.
It's not on the meeting agenda, but
Yeah.
I did want to give you a quick update on the Lawrence Music Census.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the data is crunched, and we have a preliminary report that Nick and Fally and I have been looking at. And Nick is preparing a presentation that will be on next Tuesday's City Commission agenda. So he'll be here presenting for that. And it's just really interesting and great to have that tangible information that we can work from different categories of economics and demographics and different areas. So I think it'd be really beneficial. And we're just starting to look at it and get a sense of what it is. So obviously the presentation is City Commission, and then of course a panel discussion at Free State, which will be very interesting because it'll take the data and then add some information from other areas that have already been doing some of this work. So I think it's be really beneficial.
We have guests coming from Tulsa and from Memphis to talk about their ecosystems and just how they connect to Lawrence, how we might be able to build and grow and work with one another. So there's two panels. There's ones that's the Lawrence Music Census on Friday the 28th. It's all free at the Art Center, Studio A. That one is all Lawrence-centric. And then the other one is more regional-based. So that's where we have the Tulsa-Memphis connections coming in. So that one's at 3. Cool. 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, spend the day.
That's great. I was just talking to somebody about sort of, with music, there's certain channels and certain routes that people take, and that Tulsa-Lawrence connection is a very real thing. So
we've talked about doing routes, when we book artists for the Free State Festival, we're often getting them from the coast, and can we connect with those other communities that are 4 hours away and have some kind of natural tour? That way maybe the cost to bring in these artists to Lawrence is not as expensive as coming that far of a distance. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity.
And it's important to know, too, that Nick Carswell and Lawrence Music Alliance, Fally Afani as well, just great work that's happening because he's also working at the state level, and Lawrence is something of a pilot project for Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission. So what we're learning will then help inform other Kansas cities and municipalities about their music scene and what they can do. So it's an exciting time. We really kind of went from very little in this area to a whole lot.
But this is a great example, I think, of city funding, how that helps, because the city was a great part of that music census. So I think we're thinking about arts and how can we think of ourselves as a creative economy, that kind of study and, looking at broader pictures and connections. I think that's a really exciting way to go.
Yeah.
that's great. So if you have time this next Tuesday evening, you can hear Nick talk a little bit about that at the City Commission meeting. throw him your support. At least you could attend online or whatever. But then also, the full panel at Free State Festival. Sounds great. Hearing none, unless anybody else has any comments about the music census. Up next, we're just going to do an update about the ODSE, Annual Temporary Public Art Exhibition, the Walkabout, which a pretty decent number of people attended, even though it was raining a little bit just recently. So we've got some incredible pictures. I actually don't know, are any of these pictures I took? I was going to talk up my own pictures.
So yeah, we have obviously the brochure is here, and I can give brochures to anybody who might be interested. It's also on the AutoCast app, which is OTOCAST, which is a free download. And the artists are actually recorded in there, so it's really great that you can go and do your own tour at your convenience. Plus, AutoCast is he's got tours all over the country. So if you happen to find yourself in some city, you probably can find an art tour or maybe a history tour there. But yeah, what I'm sharing here is photos, and yeah, thank you, Daniel. I think a couple of these are yours as well, from our tour, which, as I always say, it's always a pretty robust group of people that, regardless of the weather, are more than willing to come out. So I think, by the time all was said and done, there's probably 30 people or so that wandered in and out of our tour. And of course, the artists just love it, chance to talk about what they're doing. So some photos from our tour, and had a great time, as usual. And great art out there.
And then Nick recorded for audio.
Oh, right.
I think that's going to be available.
Yeah, you can see Nick Carswell here with a boom mic, and he was recording this for audio reader, and he's also taken the entire brochure and had it read for audio reader as well. So we're really getting out to different folks, and yeah, very exciting.
If anybody has not attended one of the walking tours of the outdoor sculpture exhibition, I definitely encourage people to consider in the future.
Fun.
Hopefully, last year was really hot. This year is a little bit rainy, but it really is special. Obviously, you can listen to the recordings after the fact, but not just being able to hear the artists explain sort of the motivation and process behind what they created, but then also because we have multiple sculptors all on the same walk, they end up asking each other wild technical questions that a non-sculptor would never think to bring up. So it's always kind of a special moment to hear them discuss rusting techniques and things like that. But I feel like another good one in the books. It is the Annual Temporary Public Art Exhibition. That is what we're calling it. So
Yeah, we do need to think of a good title. It's time.
Yeah.
maybe the next time the Public Art Subcommittee meets, we can dedicate 5 minutes to brainstorming a name for the thing.
Yeah.
So, does anybody else have any questions or comments?
It was just fantastic. And I had so many people say that they saw us on the tour and they said, "Oh, what were you doing?" And so I explained it. I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to do the AutoCast." And I think the visibility of it is just as great as us doing it.
It was fun. Yeah, it was nice to hang out with you guys in a less formal way too.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, up next on our old business is an update on the comp plan, the Parks, Recreation, Arts, and Culture Comprehensive Plan, which Luis mentioned when he was...
Yeah, I'm glad he spoke about it. I'm glad we kind of hit the pause button a little bit knowing he was coming. So he's really had a chance to delve into that and appreciate his ability. Clearly not his first rodeo, because he's been able to look into it and really interpret it quickly and been working with the consultants and stuff. So the good news is that the first draft is being completed now and will be delivered to us, to staff, for initial review, just to make sure everything's accurate and the right information is in there and all that kind of stuff. So that'll probably be a couple of weeks, and we get it back to the consultants. They tweak it around as they need to. And then it will come back, and this body will review it. The Parks and Recreation Parks, Recreation, Arts, and Culture Advisory Board will review it, as well as the steering committee get a chance to look at it. Before then, eventually it goes to the City Commission for approval in September. So that's where we are with that. So it's been almost a year since we kicked this. Well, it's actually been over a year now, technically. So good that we're getting this done, and things are kind of falling in place in that sense. So good news on that front.
Does anybody have any questions about the comp plan and the process that's been going through and all that stuff? Hearing none, we can move along to checking in with committees. For the Phoenix Awards, I do believe we have a version of the artist RFQ we're going to briefly touch on. This is something we've touched on before. So,
Yeah, so on the agenda, I won't pull it up because you all have seen it, but on the agenda, I did put the RFQ. We had some challenges with our MailChimp, so I just spent the whole morning working on getting the press release out. So the RFQ is on the website. It's ready to go. The application is set up. It's open. So everything's in place, and I'm a little frustrated because I was trying to get it sooner, but technology sometimes is not behave well. But anyway, everything's set up, and at 10 o'clock tomorrow, the press release will go out. So it'll be formally open, although a few people emailed me because they discovered the RFQ on our agenda, so they're already thinking of their approach to this. So that will get rolling here, and then we'll take a look at it. It closes July 15th, and then we'll take a look at it and make a decision. And that still has plenty of time for the artists to work on their artworks and get it done by the end of the year. So just want to make sure you guys knew that is actually happening.
Will we get a copy of that so it's easy to forward? Like, are we on that email list from the MailChimp?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to that arts and culture group, and if for some, but I may come up with an email just special for you all, so you can share that out and make sure people are aware of it. It's a great opportunity, and this year it's a decent amount of money too. So
great. Well, I'm glad to hear that there's interest in being
a couple
our
people
Phoenix
reached
Award
out.
artist. I think I'm sure in the past we've had Phoenix Award artist creators on the board before, but I think having Alicia's input has been nice.
Yeah.
So she's not here to hear me say that, but I'll tell her some other time. Are there any other input about the Phoenix Award artist RFQ?
Will that also go on social media? I think
Yes.
last year Abby did a cute little graphic for that. So
We'll definitely get it on social media as well.
Sweet.
All right, great. Well, we can move. So the Grants and Advocacy Subcommittee, nothing new going on there. Public Art ODSC Subcommittee, obviously we kind of touched on the tour, the walking tour. So that will take us to miscellany. I do have a little bit of miscellany at the front to kick things off. I don't know if any of the other LCAC members noticed, but Porter sent out an email a little while back with some questions about TGT funding.
I didn't get that. 'Cause
No,
after
No,
you
I
said-
sent it to you.
Oh, you only sent it to me.
Yeah, sorry,
Oh, okay.
because you and I talked about
So now-
possibly doing a survey or something.
So now we want to do. I guess I'll introduce the concept, and then if people
Do that.
are in favor, then
Yeah,
we'll send
before
it.
we, yeah.
Okay, that explains why when I asked Marlo if she'd gotten it, she said no, and I was confused. So most of you, or all of you, are aware that I was on the committee, and that there were a bunch of recommendations that came out of the committee, and that the city passed those recommendations. Obviously, we've discussed this stuff before. One of those recommendations was essentially looking at the TGT Advisory Board, which has for a number of years been convened annually, sort of put together to review TGT funds that would then go to different organizations and events, both arts and cultural events, but also some more sporty events. So with that no longer sort of reaching the city's bar for what a board is, that was removed, that was decommissioned, and the plan as far as how the city is going to move forward in administering those funds was not necessarily laid out as a result of that. The plan was to get rid of the boards that don't make sense first, and then kind of figure out the process after the fact. Which means that out of the $150,000 in TGT funds which were awarded last year through the TGT Advisory Board, about 144 of those, or exactly 144,000 of those dollars, went to arts and cultural events and programs. So in order to try and retain that funding for organizations and events and programs, it would make sense to try and establish some sort of new process whereby those funds can be administered. And in talking about it, Porter and I felt like a good starting point would just be to kind of reach out to folks who had received those funds folks who had been involved in administering those funds and ask them for their input about how they would like to see that happen, what sort of direction, what sort of investment they have in seeing those funds, given oversight essentially, so that we make sure that that money isn't going to go to, that support for the arts in our community isn't going to disappear or, over time sort of get directed in other ways. So that was the idea. That was the questions I referenced, which you hadn't received, Marlo. So Porter put together a pretty simple list of questions that we could send out to folks who had been involved, either in making those decisions or folks who had received those funds, just to get their impression on how things should move forward. And then that would be a good starting place. From there, we can maybe get that feedback and then use that feedback to try and come up with a plan to move forward with ensuring that funding is preserved. So that's all I will say. Porter, you might have a couple eloquent words you want to add, but that is the idea. So Porter, you feel free to say something, but if anyone else has any questions or comments or concerns.
I think you said it eloquently yourself.
Great.
And yeah, I think it is a good starting point just to get some feedback from those who have direct experience. And, all this has to go through the city's budget process first, so we'll see how that plays out as well. But, so I think I can put the survey together. I guess we could determine if this should go through the Grants and Advocacy Committee to kind of vet the survey and just make sure it's amenable, if that makes
I like
sense.
that idea. Yeah.
Okay. I'll set that up and get that scheduled so we can look at that and then determine. It's a very simple, as Daniel said, a very simple survey. So, okay, we'll do that.
After the survey results are, once they come in, what happens next? Like, who is the body that evaluates surveys and figures out what to do?
I don't exactly know.
Okay.
Part of it will be to get that information to see what it is. I think a caution that I'm perceiving is we don't want to if I haven't gotten much feedback on exactly why it was determined that the TGT advisory board was determined to be sunsetted. And I've heard mixed things from different people. So part of the survey is to help give us some guidance as to what it is. I don't necessarily want to recreate the same situation with this board.
Right.
It seems like that would almost be going backwards at some level. Mm-hmm. So that's as much as I know at this point.
Yeah, I will be interested to hear feedback, especially from individuals who have received funds through the process previously, because one of the things which kind of got me and Porter talking about this is that I have received some feedback or, talked to some folks who are concerned about that there isn't, not necessarily concerned that the TGT advisory board was decommissioned, but concerned that we don't have a structured process to replace it. And, we've, in these meetings, talked about the TGT advisory board process and had some issues with maybe it, overlapping or some lack of communication between different grant processes. So it might not have been the worst thing in the world, but it wasn't perfect. So I think maybe reflecting on some of those imperfections, both with feedback from folks who were a part of the process and also folks who received funds, we can come up with something that might fulfill the same role, but with some improvements, I guess we'll say.
I like that Luis's background has some grant administration, so I think that's another wealth of knowledge we can draw from, and just having access to his experience in other communities. So I think that's a positive.
Great. So I guess those questions, which I have referenced previously, those questions will go ahead and get forwarded to the folks on the Grants and Advocacy Subcommittee, and then they'll look over them before they get sent off to all the folks who can give that feedback. That was the first thing in Miscellany. I feel like usually Miscellany is just a bunch of cool events that people have attended and stuff, but that is something that I wanted to mention. Unless anybody has any other comments, I will.
Beverly did want to mention, and I brought this. Beverly, are you still available? I know she was.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Well, just so you know, I know it's going to be hard to see, but I took what you sent me and I put it into a one-page sheet. So if you want to speak about the opera, and it's here in front of folks, and I can email that out to people.
Oh, that's wonderful. I just wanted to spread the word out about the Lawrence Opera Theater's 2024 season. Now that the tickets are already on sale, so that people can plan ahead. The whole season happens in August, but if you want to buy tickets, just go to the lawrenceopera.org website. They will have 3 main events: the Path to Heaven, which is going to be performed at the Lawrence Jewish Community Congregation. It's the story about the lives of people during the Nazi occupation in Berlin. And then there's also this courtroom comedy called Trial by Jury. And then their main opera is going to be Don Giovanni, and it's about a story about the escapades of a serial womanizer, Don Giovanni. Anyway, yeah, it's all going to happen in August, and I'm hoping that people will take advantage and watch, because I mean it's not common to have an opera theater in a city or a small town. So we're lucky that we have Lawrence Opera Theater, and they're able to make performances available throughout the whole of August. So, and they have other events too. I mean, musicals and stuff like that. So if you go to the lawrenceopera.org, you'll see all the things that they have to offer.
Thanks.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Does anybody else have any upcoming or recent events they would like to report on or sort of plug?
Free State Festival is coming up, June 25th to the 30th.
Free State Festival. Never heard of that.
A lot of
Okay.
films, a lot of comedy, a lot of music, and it's going to be a blast.
Still tickets?
The passes are almost sold out, so we have the all access passes where you can literally go to everything, and then we have the individual tickets. So passes are almost gone, and then there's still tickets to individual things. But it's going to be fun.
Jill asked me to share that she attended Alicia's feast and
great.
had a great time. So I've just passed that on. I was not able to attend, unfortunately.
I didn't go to the dinner, but the show was incredible. Like that, the curation that Alicia did, and just the individual artists and the placement of them in that space, it was gorgeous.
Very cool.
That's great. We'll have to ask Alicia to give us. I know it was a different kind of art show than the one she normally does. So in the future, maybe she'll want to speak to that a little bit. I wish I could have gone, but I was, full disclosure, watching Alicia's dog for the night.
I love that.
That's great.
I did want to mention that Pride just happened recently, first of the month in South Park. Huge event. I think the move to South Park from last year's kind of block party model worked really well. So it's nice to see that event continue to grow and expand, and the folks who are putting that on have really just kind of stepped things up. So that's a pretty great cultural event. And then obviously this Saturday is going to be Juneteenth, again in South Park. So those are pretty hard ones to forget, but I had a great time at Pride, so maybe I will see some of you at Juneteenth.
And there's a great band playing with Juneteenth this year, Duran Jones, who I love, and I had thought about getting him for the festival, so I'm so excited that I just get to enjoy the concert and not put it on.
Yeah, the Juneteenth organizers consistently manage to get some pretty incredible talent for their event. So, does anybody else have anything else they'd like to plug?
I will say that Summerfest is going to happen. There's an article in Journal World right now because we're doing a drone show rather than fireworks, which I think is being well received, and I'm glad that we were able to do that. And that will include music, and Nick Carswell and Lawrence Music Alliance and Fally are all helping on that front as well. So lots of music happening coming up. Yeah, good stuff.
I'm excited for the drones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the drone show is like an innovation that has been long discussed. So it's neat that we're actually
Finally
doing it.
became cost unprohibitive.
Interesting.
And I think that's going to happen more and more because more people are jumping on that opportunity.
Neat. Well, unless anybody else has something they would like to mention, it is 8:15. We didn't have a quorum for this meeting, so we weren't able to approve the minutes or anything. And I don't think we'll even need a vote to adjourn. But I will say that I think with Luis coming and speaking, it'll be really nice or really important for us to make sure that the folks who weren't able to attend go back, and I mean, they don't have to listen to me talk, but they can go back and at least listen to him talk about sort of his background and stuff. So our next meeting will be July 10th, regular meeting, same time, same place. Hopefully we'll have a quorum. We'll approve 2 batches of minutes. But that's about it. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn just for old time's sake.
So moved.
So move. There you go. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for Porter for being our staff liaison. Thank you to Kurt. Thank you to everyone for volunteering their time. And we will see you next time, if not sooner.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.